Hey everyone, ready to dive deep into the world of Wrath of Man? Released on May 7th, 2021. This film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. The moment the movie begins, we're plunged into an atmosphere of cold calculation and tight-lipped intensity. Unlike many of Guy Ritchie's previous works filled with quippy dialogue and kinetic energy, Wrath of Man strips away the swagger and trades it for a smoldering tension that simmers beneath every frame. The first scene, an armored truck heist seen only through muffled sound and shadows, immediately lets us know this won't be a typical crime thriller. Something darker, more personal is brewing. Enter H, played by Jason Statham in what might be one of his most menacingly restrained roles to date. When he walks into Forico Security for his new job, there's an air of mystery that's hard to ignore. He's quiet, clinical, and barely scrapes by on his shooting test, but just enough to be hired. His co-workers, Bullet, Boy Sweat Dave, and the rest, chalk him up to another grizzled hire trying to stay off the radar. But as soon as a robbery goes south and H single-handedly takes out 6 armed attackers with surgical precision, it becomes clear, this man is not who he says he is. The film then begins to play with time, bending the narrative backward and sideways to show us glimpses of H's true identity. We learn his name isn't H. He's a man named Mason Hargreaves, part of a criminal syndicate with deep ties to the underworld. But his transformation into a near-silent killing machine isn't about business. It's about grief. A flashback reveals the moment that changed everything. H and his teenage son Dougie are out for a drive when they get caught in the middle of an armored truck robbery. H is shot, Dougie is murdered, and the killers vanish. From that point, Wrath of Man becomes a revenge odyssey, less about justice and more about cold, emotionless vengeance. H systematically embeds himself in Forico to get closer to the people responsible, with every armored transport run acting as bait. The way Guy Ritchie handles this part of the story is brilliant, breaking the timeline into different chapters, each providing a new angle, a deeper layer. We're not just watching a manhunt, we're watching a puzzle piece itself together with chilling precision. And then we meet the real villains, a group of ex-military men, led by Jeffrey Donovan's character Jackson, who have grown disillusioned and broken by civilian life. Seeking adrenaline, money, or perhaps just an outlet for violence, they plan and execute armored truck heists across the city. Among them is Jan, played with eerie volatility by Scott Eastwood, a wild card whose recklessness becomes the thread that unravels the group. When Jan kills H's son during the robbery out of pure spite, it sets in motion the events that drive the final act. As the film barrels toward its climax, we get the full picture. H isn't the hero. He's not even an anti-hero. He's a force, raw, unrelenting, and stripped of anything resembling mercy. The final showdown, a meticulously choreographed shootout inside Forico, is a brutal ballet of bullets, betrayals, and blood. Ritchie dials up the tension to near unbearable levels. No one is safe and everyone is expendable. The final confrontation between H and Jan is almost Shakespearean in its quiet inevitability. There are no grand speeches, no catharsis, just a bullet-for-a-bullet reckoning. H doesn't scream. He doesn't gloat. He simply recites the coroner's report of his son's injuries back to Jan as he dies. A cold, devastating form of justice that leaves no room for redemption. What makes Wrath of Man stand out is its tonal shift from Ritchie's previous work. Gone are the stylized editing tricks and witty montages. In their place is something rawer, meaner. The violence isn't stylized. It's clinical. The dialogue isn't slick. It's sparse. Every choice serves the story of a man so consumed by loss that even revenge feels hollow by the end. Statham's performance is a revelation. He communicates more with silence and stillness than he does with action. There's no charm, no one-liners. Just a man rotting from the inside. The supporting cast, particularly Holt McCallan as Bullet and Jeffrey Donovan as Jackson, elevate the tension, each playing characters who live in moral gray zones. The soundtrack, composed by Christopher Benstead, uses deep, ominous strings to maintain a constant sense of dread, wrapping the film in a feeling that something terrible is always around the corner. It's not just background music. It's psychological warfare for the viewer. In the end, Wrath of Man isn't about heroism. It's about obsession. It's a tale of how vengeance erases identity and how justice, when pursued with enough brutality, stops being justice at all. By the final frame, there's no triumph, only silence. And maybe that's the point. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you found this deep dive into Wrath of Man as gripping as the film itself, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us bring more content your way. And if you're craving more cinematic breakdowns and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel and join our community of film lovers. Until next time, keep watching. There's always more beneath the surface. When Wrath of Man hit theaters on May 7, 2021, it didn't just bring another action movie to the big screen. It brought something darker, sharper, and far more intense than most people expected. Directed by Guy Ritchie, a filmmaker known for stylish, fast-talking British crime films like Snatch and Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. This time he took a turn into a more serious and gritty territory. And with Jason Statham in the lead, it was clear from the start that this wasn't going to be your average revenge thriller. It was something colder, something more controlled, something that gets under your skin. What makes Wrath of Man so interesting isn't just the story. It's the way that story is told. Instead of a straight path from beginning to end, the movie is structured like a puzzle. You see one part of the story, then it rewinds. You see another side of it, then another. Slowly, the full picture begins to come together. And when it does, you realize nothing is as simple as it first seemed. It's a film that keeps asking questions, and it keeps you leaning forward, trying to understand who the main character really is and what he's truly capable of. And once the truth starts to come out, it hits like a punch to the chest. The story begins with a robbery. A normal armored truck is on a routine route when suddenly it's attacked by heavily armed men. It seems like a random heist. But in this moment, even though we barely know what's going on, there's a strange silence. The tension isn't loud. It's tight and quiet. The camera stays in the truck, so we don't see much. We only hear the sounds, the screams, the gunshots. It's a smart way to pull the audience into the world, without giving too much away. Soon after, we meet a man who goes by the name H. He's applying for a job at Forico Security, the same company that runs the armored trucks. H passes his tests just barely and gets the job. But there's something off about him. He doesn't talk much. He doesn't smile. He watches everyone closely. His coworkers, including Bullet and Boy Sweat Dave, don't know what to make of him. He seems normal enough, maybe a bit rough, maybe hiding something, but nothing that raises any serious red flags until the next heist. When the truck H is riding in gets ambushed, everything changes. He goes from a quiet employee to a stone-cold killer. He takes out every single attacker with terrifying precision. It's not just that he survives, he dominates. And suddenly, everyone around him starts asking, "Who is this guy?" This is where the movie starts to stretch out. It doesn't give you the answers right away. Instead, it jumps back in time and shows a different side of the story. We learn that H isn't just a guard. His real name is Mason Hargreaves, and he's not just any criminal. He's a powerful figure in the underworld, running his own crew and dealing with millions in cash and crime. But he isn't at Forico because he needs money or a job. He's there because his teenage son, Dougie, was killed in one of those truck robberies. And now, Mason is hunting the people who did it. The emotional weight behind this revenge isn't delivered in long speeches or big emotional moments. Instead, it's buried beneath every action Mason takes. Jason Statham plays him with a kind of cold focus that's hard to look away from. He's not out of control. He's not crying in corners. He's doing everything step by step with brutal discipline. It's this quiet, ruthless energy that makes the character, and the movie, so intense. As the story moves forward, we also meet the other side of the conflict. A group of former soldiers, now living normal civilian lives, have turned to crime. They're the ones pulling off the heists. They use their military skills to plan every move, communicate without words, and get in and out like a professional strike team. Their leader, Jackson, seems steady and thoughtful. But there's one man in the group who's different, January. He's reckless, dangerous, and, as it turns out, he's the one who killed Mason's son. What makes this part of the movie work so well is that we get to see the world from both sides. It's not just about a good guy chasing bad guys. There's a sense of understanding, even if we don't agree with the choices. These veterans didn't start robbing trucks because they loved crime. They felt abandoned by the system. They needed purpose. But once the money starts coming in, and once people start dying, their moral lines begin to blur. And that's when things start to fall apart. The tension builds as both sides move toward the inevitable final clash. Mason has slowly been gathering clues, watching people, connecting dots. He doesn't want to just catch the killers, he wants to hurt them. And when Forico is targeted again, everything explodes. The heist is bigger, more violent, and more desperate than any before. Inside the armored facility, bullets fly, betrayals unfold, and blood covers the walls. The way the action is filmed in Wrath of Man is worth mentioning. It's not flashy or over the top. It's grounded and raw. You feel the weight of every gunshot. You feel the chaos when things go wrong. Guy Ritchie avoids shaky cam or fast cuts. Instead, he keeps the camera steady, letting the violence unfold in real time. It's uncomfortable, and that's exactly the point. When the dust settles and Mason finally comes face to face with Jan, the movie delivers one of its most haunting moments. There's no yelling, no monologue, just Mason reading off the details of his son's autopsy, line by line, as Jan listens. It's cold, clinical, devastating. Then, with no further words, Mason finishes the job. And just like that, the revenge is complete. But there's no sense of victory, no celebration, just silence. What makes Wrath of Man more than just a revenge movie is the way it explores what revenge does to a person. Mason doesn't find peace. He doesn't get closure. He's left empty. The mission that kept him alive is over, and now there's nothing left. That's not something you see in every action film. Most stories would end with a high note, some kind of personal growth. But this one is different. It's honest about the cost of violence, and how sometimes even justice feels hollow. The performances across the board are strong. Jason Statham carries the film with his quiet intensity, showing us a side of him we don't often see. Holt McCallan brings heart and charm as Bullet, the coworker who may not be what he seems. Scott Eastwood as Jan is especially chilling. He brings just the right amount of unpredictability to make every scene feel dangerous. And Jeffrey Donovan, as Jackson, offers a grounded performance that makes us question whether these men are villains or just broken souls making terrible choices. The music and sound design also play a huge role in the film's atmosphere. The score is low, slow, and full of tension. It doesn't guide your emotions. It drags you into the dark with it. There are long moments of silence where the only sounds are footsteps, creaking doors, or the click of a gun. Those moments say more than any words could. Visually, the movie sticks to a muted color palette, grays, browns, dark greens, giving it a tired, worn-out look that fits the story perfectly. Everything feels heavy, like the world itself is weighed down by the violence taking place inside it. It's not stylish in the usual sense, but it's incredibly effective. You feel like you're in a world that's been stripped of anything soft or comforting. So, why did Wrath of Man strike such a nerve with audiences? Why did it stand out among so many other action films? Part of it is timing. In a world where so many movies go for spectacle over substance, this one took a different route. It slowed down. It focused on pain and process. It asked the audience to sit with hard truths, not run from them. And it gave us a hero who doesn't fit the usual mold. A man who isn't trying to save the day, but just trying to make someone else hurt as much as he does. There's also the way the movie treats its audience. It doesn't spoon-feed anything. It expects you to pay attention, to keep track of shifting timelines and subtle clues. It rewards careful viewers, and that makes the whole experience more satisfying. You're not just watching, you're participating, trying to figure it all out before the final pieces lock into place. Another reason it connected so strongly is that it taps into something universal. The idea of loss, of being powerless to stop something terrible, and then of being consumed by the need to do something even if that something breaks you. Most people will never go to the lengths Mason does, but almost everyone can understand the feeling that drives him. That's what makes the story hit so hard. It all begins with a normal workday in Los Angeles. An armored truck pulls up to a stop, just like it does every day. The guards inside are joking, sipping coffee, relaxed. They have no idea what's coming. Suddenly, a group of armed men attack the truck. The screen goes dark, and all we hear are sounds. Shouting, gunfire, panic. It's fast, chaotic, and terrifying. We don't see who the attackers are. We don't know why it happened. But in that moment, one thing becomes clear. Something has gone very wrong. A few weeks later, a quiet, serious man walks into the Forico Security office. He says his name is Patrick Hill, but people quickly start calling him H. He's there to apply for a job as a security guard. He doesn't say much. His face gives nothing away. The hiring manager tells him he needs to pass a shooting test, a physical exam, and some driving tests to get the job. H passes everything, not perfectly, but just enough to be hired. He doesn't show off. He doesn't draw attention to himself. But there's something about him, calm, distant, and always watching. On his first day, H meets his new team. There's Bullet, who seems friendly and confident, and Boy Sweat Dave, who's more talkative and playful. The other guards aren't sure what to think of H. He doesn't talk much. He gives short answers. Some of them start joking around, trying to push his buttons. But H never reacts. He stays cool and quiet, like he's always thinking. As the days go by, H starts learning how the job works, how to load cash, how to follow routes, and what to do in emergencies. Everything seems normal. He goes on a few runs, gets used to the routine, blends in with the team. Nobody suspects anything unusual. But we, the audience, can feel it. H is not just some guy looking for work. He's here for a reason, and we're about to find out what it is. Then it happens. One day, H is in the truck with Bullet and Boy Sweat Dave when they get hit by robbers. The attackers surround the vehicle armed with rifles and gear. They scream at the guards to get out, hands in the air. The situation is tense, just like the opening scene. But this time, something different happens. H steps out of the truck, and in a matter of seconds, he kills every single attacker. No hesitation, no mistakes. He moves like a soldier, quick and deadly. After the attack, his co-workers are stunned. They can't believe what they saw. Bullet says H saved their lives. Boy Sweat Dave looks at him differently now, with a mix of fear and respect. Word spreads around the company. Who is this guy? How did he do that? Where did he learn to kill like that? H becomes a mystery. Someone the others want to understand but don't dare ask too many questions. News of H's heroism reaches the bosses. They review the footage and call him in. They ask him about his past, about how he managed to handle such a dangerous situation without blinking. H gives simple answers. He doesn't brag. He just says he did what he had to do. The company praises him, gives him a new nickname, the Dark Horse. But behind the compliments, there's suspicion. The company's head of security, who used to work in law enforcement, starts digging into H's background. Something doesn't add up. At the same time, we see H alone in his apartment. The silence is heavy. He sits in the dark, looking at old photos, one of a young boy. His face is full of grief, pain buried deep inside. We don't know yet what happened to the boy, but we can feel the weight it carries. H isn't just a mysterious guard with skills. He's a man hiding from something, or hunting for something. Then the movie takes us back. A flashback reveals that the boy in the photo is H's son, Dougie. And now we understand why H is at Forico. Dougie was killed during a robbery, the same robbery we saw at the start of the film. That attack wasn't random. It was the one where Dougie was shot while sitting in the car with his father. H had just stopped to get some food. In those few minutes, the truck was ambushed. Dougie saw too much. One of the robbers shot him, and by the time H reached him, it was too late. The pain of that moment is what drives everything. H lost his son. Now he's hunting the people who did it. But he's not running around wildly. He's doing it carefully from the inside. That's why he joined Forico. He's using the job to study the routes, meet the guards, and wait for the robbers to strike again. Every shift, every delivery, is another chance to find them. He's not there for justice. He's there for revenge. More flashbacks reveal that H isn't some normal father. He's actually the leader of a powerful crime group. He had money, connections, and influence. But after his son's death, everything changed. He stopped caring about business. He became obsessed with finding the men responsible. His crew didn't understand at first, but they saw the fire in him. Together, they started gathering information, questioning informants, following leads, trying to find the crew behind the attack. We see scenes of H torturing men in parking garages, storming hideouts, looking for answers. He's ruthless. He doesn't care about anyone else's safety. All he wants is a name, a clue, anything that will lead him to the person who pulled the trigger. But it's not easy. The crew that attacked the truck was careful. They left no evidence, no fingerprints, no trail. Meanwhile, life at Forico continues. H keeps working. He learns more about his co-workers, especially Bullet, who seems to trust him completely. Bullet starts picking H for every run. Boy Sweat Dave, though still shaken by what he saw, starts to respect him more. But there's always that distance. H isn't there to make friends. He's there to wait, to watch. Then comes another twist. A new flashback shows us the group responsible for the robberies. They're ex-soldiers, former Marines who served in dangerous combat missions. Now they're back in the US trying to adjust to normal life. But they're struggling. Some have jobs they hate. Some have no money. They miss the thrill, the teamwork, the action. One of them, Jackson, comes up with a plan. They'll use their military training to rob cash trucks. Not often, just once or twice. Enough to set themselves up for life. They plan everything with precision, routes, escape plans, weapons, timing. They know how the armored truck system works, and they know how to avoid getting caught. First, it works. They pull off small jobs, fast and clean. But one man in the group, Jan, doesn't want to stop. He likes the danger. He wants more. When the group robs the truck where Dougie was present, it's Jan who pulls the trigger and kills the boy. The others didn't plan for that. They didn't mean to kill a kid. But now it's done, and there's no going back. This part of the story adds new tension. Now we understand both sides. We know who killed H's son. We know they're still out there planning more heists. And we know H is getting closer to the truth, even if he doesn't know exactly who he's looking for yet. Back in the present, another robbery happens. A truck is hit and H is once again involved. But this time something feels off. Bullet, who always seemed loyal, acts strangely. He gives instructions that don't make sense. He separates from the team. H starts to suspect that Bullet might be working with the robbers. But he stays silent. He needs to be sure. He watches. He waits. And then, just as things seem to be settling again, we see one last moment that changes everything. Bullet picks H for a high-risk delivery. It's a setup. A big heist is coming. The crew is planning something huge. And this time, they want help from the inside. H doesn't know all the details yet, but something tells him this will be different. Bigger. More dangerous. The trap is being set, and H is walking right into it. The second half of Wrath of Man begins with a rising tension that you can feel in every scene. H is still watching and waiting, but something has changed. He's getting closer to the truth, and the people behind his son's death are unknowingly drawing closer to him. It's like two storms heading toward each other, and when they finally meet, everything is going to blow apart. We now follow the ex-soldier crew more closely, the group responsible for the robberies. Jackson is their leader. He's calm, disciplined, and focused. He sees their operations as missions, planned, clean, and professional. But underneath his leadership is Jan, unpredictable and dangerous. He's not just doing it for money anymore. He likes the power, the chaos. He wants more. The group has done a few jobs already, but now they're planning one final score. This one is bigger than anything they've done before. Forico's cash vault on Black Friday. Millions of dollars. High risk, high reward. Everything they've been building toward comes down to this last job. To pull it off, they need an inside man. Someone who can move freely, someone who knows the trucks, the guards, and the schedules. That person turns out to be Bullet. The man who seemed loyal. The one who brought H into the company. Bullet has been feeding information to the crew the whole time. At first, maybe he just wanted money. Maybe he thought no one would get hurt. But now he's deep in it. He can't back out. The plan is simple on the surface. The robbers will pretend to be construction workers, using uniforms and a fake work crew to block the street. Bullet will lead the truck right into the trap. Inside the truck, H, Boy Sweat Dave, and Bullet will be carrying the cash. Jackson and his team will strike fast, take over the depot, collect the money, and vanish. But nothing goes quite as planned. The morning of the heist, the atmosphere is thick with quiet dread. H doesn't say much, but his eyes are sharp. He senses something is off. He doesn't trust Bullet anymore, and he watches every move closely. They drive toward the depot, just like any other day. But then the truck slows down, rerouted due to construction. H glances around. Something clicks. It's happening. And then it hits. The fake construction crew drops the act, pulls weapons, and the ambush begins. The robbers are fast and brutal. They've done this before. But H is ready. He fights back. Bullets fly. Chaos erupts inside the depot. Guards are taken hostage. Panic spreads. It's not just a robbery anymore, it's war. The action is raw and intense. Every sound echoes. Every movement feels real. Guy Ritchie keeps the camera grounded, pulling us into the chaos without tricks. It's not about looking cool, it's about survival. During the chaos, we see the robbers split up. Some secure the cash. Others handle the guards. H is handcuffed, pretending to be helpless, waiting for his moment. Boy Sweat Dave is panicking. Bullet is keeping his secret, pretending to be just another hostage. But H's eyes never stop moving. He knows something everyone else doesn't. He's seen one of the robbers before. Then comes a critical twist. H finally sees Jan's face under the mask. It's brief but enough. That's the man. That's the one who killed his son. The rage inside H goes from quiet to explosive. He breaks free, grabs a gun, and the bloodbath begins. The warehouse turns into a battlefield. The robbers try to hold their ground, but H moves like a ghost through the shadows, taking them down one by one. It's personal now. There's no backup coming. No justice system. Just H alone, fighting through the maze of violence to get to the man who destroyed his life. One of the most intense moments happens when Jackson, the leader, realizes the heist is falling apart. He orders everyone to fall back. But Jan refuses. He's still chasing the money. Greedy, unstable, and dangerous to everyone around him. As the team begins to splinter, the mission starts to crumble. Meanwhile, H makes his way deeper into the depot, crossing paths with Bullet. This is where the betrayal becomes clear. H realizes Bullet was part of the inside job all along. He doesn't shout. He doesn't argue. He just shoots Bullet calmly, efficiently. Another piece of the puzzle falls into place. Outside, the robbers escape with the cash, heading into the armored trucks they used to get in. H gives chase, injured but focused. He knows Jan is out there, and he's not letting him get away. The movie switches tones again, from a warehouse shootout to a tense citywide escape. Jan kills the remaining members of his own crew to take all the money for himself. He's ruthless, a traitor even to his friends. He disappears into the city, thinking he's free. But H is already ahead of him. We move into the final, quietest, and most powerful scene of the film. Jan enters his expensive apartment. He pours himself a drink. He finally feels safe. He doesn't know H has been watching, waiting, following every step. Suddenly, Jan walks into his bedroom, and there H is, standing in the shadows. This moment is quiet. No music, just tension. Jan tries to talk. He tries to act tough. But H doesn't give him the chance. He doesn't shoot him immediately. Instead, he reads from a piece of paper. It's Dougie's autopsy report. Line by line. Every wound. Every bullet. Every injury his son suffered. H forces Jan to hear it all. Then, he delivers the final shot. It's not satisfying. It's not meant to be. It's empty. Silent. H doesn't celebrate. He just walks away. Everything he wanted has happened, but he feels nothing. And that's what makes the ending so strong. The movie doesn't end with cheers or justice. It ends with silence. With grief that never healed. With a man who got his revenge but lost everything else. H disappears, just as quietly as he arrived. The audience is left sitting in the stillness, thinking not about the action, but about the pain behind it. Every storyline ties together. The soldiers looking for meaning. The grieving father searching for answers. The betrayal from inside the company. The lies, the planning, the personal war, it all connects. There were no random events. Every move had weight. Every decision left a scar. From the first time we see him, Patrick Hill, better known as H, feels like someone who doesn't belong. He walks into Forico Security with a face that gives nothing away, a voice flat and cautious, and a presence that seems too still for someone just looking for a job. There's something inside him that's heavy, something he's carrying silently, and the more time we spend with him, the clearer it becomes. This man isn't here to earn a paycheck. He's here to find something, or someone. Jason Statham brings H to life with a level of control that stands out, even in his long career of action roles. He doesn't need to say much, because everything we need to know is in his eyes. There's no swagger this time, no fast talking or one-liners. Just quiet calculation and cold resolve. He blends into the background of Forico, saying the bare minimum, showing just enough to get by. But from the moment he takes out a group of armed robbers with clinical precision, it's clear to the audience, and eventually to the characters around him, that H isn't who he says he is. What's fascinating about H is that he doesn't follow the typical arc of a hero. He doesn't start out flawed and become better. He starts broken, and as the story moves forward, he sinks deeper into darkness. His motivation is simple on the surface, revenge. But underneath that is a father's grief that has nowhere to go. H lost his teenage son, Dougie, in a random act of violence. That moment changed everything. It stripped him of softness, of peace, and of anything that once made him human. His transformation isn't about healing. It's about becoming someone capable of doing what needs to be done. Flashbacks show us the man H used to be. A criminal, yes, but also a leader, a father, someone with a life beyond violence. He had a crew. He had control. He had a son he loved. And then, in one instant, that life was ripped apart. The way Statham plays the difference between the past and the present versions of H is subtle but powerful. In the past, his eyes had energy. Now, they just scan, always searching for the next clue. He walks slower, talks less, smiles never. He's not trying to move on. He's trying to erase anything that doesn't lead to justice. H's silence throughout the film does more than dialogue ever could. His pain is buried so deep, he can only express it through action. When he kills, he does it without emotion. When he gets answers, he barely reacts. But underneath every calm move is the raw anger of a man who had everything taken from him. And what's chilling is that he doesn't want to stop. Even after the people responsible are dead, we're left wondering, what's left for H? Who is he without his mission? Surrounding H is a cast of characters who help shape the story, not just through their actions, but by reflecting pieces of him back to us. One of the first people he connects with is Bullet, played by Holt McCallan. Bullet seems like a good guy. Friendly, helpful, experienced. He takes H under his wing, shows him the ropes, makes small talk to fill the silence. Their relationship feels genuine at first. Bullet talks too much, H talks too little, but somehow they balance each other out. So when we learn that Bullet has been secretly working with the robbers the whole time, it hits hard. Bullet's betrayal is one of the film's most personal twists, not because H loved him, but because he trusted him, even just a little. In a world where H trusts no one, Bullet was one of the few people he let in, even if only by a crack. And that crack is what the enemy used to get close. Bullet's arc is a reminder that betrayal doesn't always come from villains. Sometimes it comes from people who look you in the eye, call you a friend, and smile as they sell you out. McCallan plays the role with just enough warmth to make the truth hurt when it's finally revealed. Then there's Boy Sweat Dave, a nickname that perfectly matches his nervous energy. He's loud, talkative, always trying to prove himself, and deeply uncomfortable with violence. At first, he treats H like just another guy, maybe even a bit of a joke. But once he sees what H is capable of, especially during the first robbery, his entire attitude changes. He's afraid, unsure whether H is a hero or a monster. That tension never really goes away, and that's what makes Dave so important. He's the one who reacts like a normal person. He doesn't belong in a world of killers, and watching him try to survive in it reminds us just how far gone the others really are. As the film pulls us deeper into the world of the robbers, we meet Jackson and his crew. These aren't just criminals. They're former soldiers, trained and disciplined. Jackson, played with calm authority by Jeffrey Donovan, isn't a villain in the traditional sense. He's a man who once served his country, who now feels left behind. His life in the civilian world feels pointless. His job isn't fulfilling. His bills are stacking up. So he creates his own mission, a series of robberies carried out like military operations. In his mind, he's not doing anything wrong. He's just adapting to survive. Jackson is a fascinating contrast to H. Both are men who once had control, who now live by their own rules. But while H is driven by grief, Jackson is driven by purpose. He sees the robberies as a way to restore meaning to his life. He runs the crew with order and fairness. Until Jan enters the picture. Jan is the wild card, the chaos inside the order. Played by Scott Eastwood. He's cold, reckless, and dangerous in a way that unsettles even the other robbers. Jan doesn't care about strategy or honor. He wants money. He wants power. And he enjoys the violence too much. It's Jan who pulls the trigger that kills Dougie. It's Jan who starts tearing the crew apart from within. And it's Jan who becomes H's ultimate target. Scott Eastwood's performance is sharp and unsettling. He plays Jan with a mix of confidence and cruelty that makes your skin crawl. You can tell he believes he's untouchable. Even when he kills his own team to take the money for himself, he does it without hesitation. From the very start of Wrath of Man, tension wraps around the viewer like a tightening noose. And it's the film's ability to sustain and then explode that tension in key moments that sets it apart. The opening armored truck robbery isn't just a gripping action sequence. It immediately immerses us in confusion and mystery, shot almost entirely from inside the truck. The scene's tight framing and limited perspective make you feel claustrophobic and unsure. The gunfire sounds are muffled, the robber's faces hidden, and the identity of the driver a complete unknown. This approach is brilliant because it forces the audience to experience the chaos and danger as the characters do, blind and anxious. The scene becomes more than just action. It's a masterclass in suspense building that hooks viewers instantly. What makes this opening so special is how it's a puzzle piece of a larger narrative. Only when the story unfolds do we realize the driver is actually H, the seemingly quiet armored truck guard. That clever narrative twist redefines the entire scene on rewatch and emphasizes the movie's themes of hidden motives and buried pain. This idea, that truth is layered and masked, runs through the whole film, turning what could be a straightforward heist into a meditation on grief and vengeance. The emotional weight of Wrath of Man finds its clearest expression in scenes where H reveals glimpses of his true self. One standout moment occurs during his confrontation with Jan, the man responsible for killing H's son Dougie. The tension here is palpable, not just because it's a classic revenge showdown, but because of how it's framed. There's a cold, clinical atmosphere as H methodically goes through Dougie's autopsy notes, mirroring the way he exacts his retribution, wound by wound. The choice to echo the medical report in his revenge shows the depth of H's grief. It's not just anger but a ritual, a personal reckoning. This methodical violence contrasts sharply with the chaos of earlier action scenes, highlighting the film's exploration of controlled rage versus explosive wrath. Beyond the physical violence, this scene strikes an emotional core because of Jason Statham's restrained performance. His H isn't a loud avenger. He's almost ghost-like, his face a mask of pain and detachment. Statham's quiet intensity invites viewers to lean in and feel the sorrow beneath the surface, turning what could have been a typical action cliché into something haunting. Audience reactions often focus on this moment as a turning point, where the movie transcends genre to become a dark character study. Another key moment that resonates deeply is the flashback sequence showing H's former life as a ruthless criminal. These scenes are darker, shadowed with regret and tension, revealing the man beneath the armor. The contrast between H's past and present selves enriches the narrative, illustrating how grief can transform identity. The storytelling here is subtle, using minimal dialogue and evocative visuals, like the tight framing of H's eyes and clenched fists, to communicate a man haunted by loss and driven by revenge. This backstory doesn't just inform H's motives. It shapes the entire emotional landscape of the film, allowing viewers to empathize with a character whose world is defined by pain and violence. The film's pacing around these revelations is carefully calibrated. The early sequences build suspense with quick cuts and tight close-ups, while the latter half slows down during emotional confrontations, allowing weighty silence to fill the frame. This shift in rhythm reinforces the thematic contrast between chaos and control, fury and calculation, making the story's arc feel both dynamic and grounded. Visual storytelling is equally vital to the film's impact. Guy Ritchie's choice to shoot much of the movie with muted colors and shadows reflects the moral ambiguity of the characters and the grim reality of their world. The use of darkness isn't just stylistic. It symbolizes the secrets and hidden pain each character carries. For instance, the scenes inside the armored truck are often dimly lit, emphasizing confinement and danger, while outdoor shots frequently employ harsh sunlight that blinds as much as it reveals. This interplay between light and dark visually echoes the film's core themes of concealment and revelation. Another emotionally charged moment comes late in the film, when H finally confronts his estranged wife. This encounter is brief but loaded with meaning. The cold distance between them and the muted color palette underscore the fractured family life torn apart by Dougie's death. Unlike the explosive violence elsewhere, this scene uses silence and lingering glances to convey the profound cost of revenge, not just to the avenger but to those around him. It reminds viewers that beneath every act of wrath lies a broken human story. Thematically, Wrath of Man doesn't shy away from exploring the cyclical nature of violence. The robbery crew, led by Jan, aren't faceless villains but former soldiers disillusioned and desperate, turning to crime out of necessity. Their humanity is hinted at in small gestures and moments of doubt, complicating the film's moral landscape. This nuanced portrayal invites audiences to consider how pain and loss perpetuate violence, making the revenge plot feel less black and white and more a tragic spiral. One of the most discussed moments in audience circles is the sudden revelation of H's true identity and mission halfway through the film. It shifts the movie from a straightforward heist thriller into a revenge story, reshaping everything previously seen. This twist is delivered with such precision that it invites viewers to immediately reevaluate characters and motivations. It's a masterstroke in storytelling that amplifies suspense rather than deflates it. The shift also brings emotional stakes to the forefront, as the audience realizes this is not just about money but a father's unbearable grief. Audience reactions to these moments vary, but many note that the film's emotional depth and careful pacing elevate it above typical action fare. The restrained performances, particularly by Statham and Scott Eastwood as the conflicted Jackson, offer complexity rarely seen in the genre. Their subtle facial expressions and quiet tension create empathy for characters usually painted in broad strokes. This invites viewers to look beyond gunfights and chase scenes and engage with themes of loss, loyalty, and justice. The film's ending, where H silently walks away after avenging Dougie, remains hauntingly ambiguous. There's no triumphant music or dramatic showdown, just cold resolution and emotional exhaustion. This deliberate choice leaves the audience pondering the true cost of vengeance. It's not a neat closure, but a somber reflection on what remains after wrath is spent. In summary, the most impactful scenes in Wrath of Man blend tightly choreographed suspense with emotional storytelling. They reveal the heart beneath the action, showing how grief fuels rage and how revenge exacts a heavy toll. These moments are special because they challenge viewers to feel both the thrill of the chase and the pain of loss. They shape the overall experience by transforming a crime thriller into a poignant exploration of human resilience, making the film linger long after the credits roll. From the moment Wrath of Man begins, the film invites viewers to look beyond the surface of a typical revenge thriller and delve into a world layered with deeper themes and symbolic meaning. Beneath its intense action and tense confrontations lies a meditation on grief, justice, identity, and the cycles of violence that haunt both individuals and society. At its core, the movie is about loss and the desperate ways people try to reclaim control when everything slips away. H's cold exterior, marked by a quiet, unyielding focus, is a shield forged by the unbearable pain of losing his son, Dougie. The armored truck he guards becomes more than just a job. It is a fortress against the chaos of his grief, a place where he can impose order in a world that's been violently shattered. This setting serves as a powerful symbol for the psychological walls we build after trauma, hiding pain behind duty and silence. It's a reminder that beneath even the toughest exteriors lies a fragile human being wrestling with heartbreak. The film's repeated focus on masks, both literal and figurative, further amplifies this theme of concealment and hidden truths. The robbers wear ski masks during their heist, hiding their faces but revealing their desperation and fractured identities. Meanwhile, H himself hides his past and true motives under the guise of a stoic employee. This duality between appearance and reality runs like a thread throughout the story, urging the audience to question who people really are beneath their facades. It's a reflection on how trauma shapes identity and how vengeance can consume and obscure what remains of the self. Violence in Wrath of Man is not glamorized but portrayed as brutal, messy, and cyclical. The film doesn't present revenge as cathartic or heroic. Instead, it exposes the heavy toll it takes on everyone involved. The robbers, though portrayed initially as antagonists, are shown as complex individuals pushed by desperation, economic hardship, and disillusionment. Their backgrounds as ex-soldiers who have seen violence firsthand hint at the lasting scars of war and the difficulties of reintegration into civilian life. This context transforms the robbers from mere villains into symbols of a larger societal problem: how violence begets violence, and how broken systems fail those most vulnerable. This cycle of violence and retribution mirrors real-world social issues, including systemic inequality and the struggles faced by those on society's margins. The robbers' actions, though criminal, are framed not as evil for evil's sake, but as desperate attempts to survive in a harsh economic landscape. In this light, the film raises uncomfortable questions about justice, both legal and moral, and who ultimately pays the price when society fractures. It challenges viewers to consider whether revenge can ever truly right a wrong, or if it only perpetuates suffering. The character of Jan, the leader of the robbers, embodies this moral ambiguity. His calculated, ruthless decisions clash with moments of vulnerability and regret, painting a portrait of a man trapped between his past and present. Jan's fractured family relationships further underline the personal cost of the criminal lifestyle and violence. His betrayal by one of his own members and the eventual unraveling of his plans illustrate the fragile nature of trust in a world shaped by fear and survival. Jan's arc serves as a grim reflection of how violence corrodes bonds and fractures families, themes that resonate far beyond the screen. Symbolism in the film subtly enhances these themes. The armored truck itself is a potent symbol, representing safety, containment, and the precious cargo of life and money that society clings to. Yet the truck is repeatedly violated, breached by violence, and used as a battleground, suggesting that no fortress is truly impervious. This reflects a broader commentary on how fragile societal order can be and how quickly it can unravel when faced with desperation and vengeance. The persistent use of shadows and muted colors throughout the film visually underscores the moral gray areas the story inhabits. Darkness often envelopes characters, suggesting that they operate in spaces where right and wrong blur. The cold blues and grays evoke a world drained of warmth and certainty, mirroring H's emotional state and the bleakness of his quest. At times, harsh lighting exposes the characters' faces and scars, reminding us that beneath the darkness, humanity endures, even if battered. Another poignant symbol appears in the recurring motif of eyes, the way they reveal more than words ever could. Close-ups of H's eyes show flickers of sorrow, rage, and haunted memories. When he looks at photos of his son or scans the autopsy report, his eyes betray the quiet desperation driving him. These visual details emphasize that this story is not just about physical conflict but the internal battle waged within grief and anger. The film also comments on masculinity and emotional repression. H's stoicism and silent suffering reflect societal expectations placed on men to hide vulnerability and channel pain into action. His emotional distance creates a chilling effect, suggesting that unchecked grief and suppressed emotions can lead to a cold and destructive path. This portrayal invites reflection on how cultural norms about masculinity shape behavior and personal tragedy. Furthermore, the film touches on family and broken relationships as a source of motivation and conflict. H's strained connection with his wife and the loss of his son expose the ripple effects of trauma. Jackson, the truck manager, also embodies familial themes as he navigates loyalty and survival within a fractured group. The film portrays family not only as a source of love, but also as a battleground where trust, betrayal, and sacrifice play out. These layers enrich the narrative, making the stakes deeply personal rather than purely plot-driven. Socially, Wrath of Man can be seen as a reflection of contemporary anxieties around security, trust, and economic instability. The armored truck, carrying cash and valuables, symbolizes societal wealth and safety, elements constantly under threat in uncertain times. The heist and ensuing violence metaphorically capture fears about losing control over one's environment and safety nets. The robber's desperation speaks to economic divides and the extremes people might face when pushed to the edge. The film, therefore, becomes a mirror for societal tensions and the fragile balance between order and chaos. Additionally, the film's portrayal of law enforcement and corporate power is layered with skepticism. Forico, the armored truck company, represents a corporate institution that is simultaneously protective and impersonal. The workers are shown as cogs within a larger system, with little agency or personal connection to the money they guard. This depiction comments on the alienation of workers in modern capitalism and the thin line between protecting wealth and exploiting labor. The film invites viewers to question who truly holds power and who pays the price in violent confrontations over money. Ultimately, Wrath of Man weaves its themes, symbolism, and social commentary into a dark, gripping narrative that transcends typical genre boundaries. The movie's emotional intensity, combined with its exploration of grief, identity, and societal fractures, offers a haunting reflection on the human condition. It challenges viewers to look beyond revenge and action and see the tragic human stories lurking beneath, stories of loss, broken trust, and the search for meaning in a fractured world. From the very first frame, Wrath of Man immerses its audience in a world where every visual choice, every sound, and every cut works together to create a palpable atmosphere of tension and mystery. Guy Ritchie's signature style shines through in the film's careful crafting of mood and character through cinematic techniques, making it not just an action thriller, but a richly textured viewing experience. The film's visual style immediately sets the tone, a blend of gritty realism and moody stylization that complements the story's dark themes. Cinematographer Ben Davis employs a muted color palette dominated by cold blues, grays, and shadows, reflecting the bleakness of the narrative and the emotional landscape of its characters. This choice isn't just about aesthetic. It's a deliberate tool to mirror H's internal state. The cold tones evoke isolation, grief, and suppressed rage, wrapping the film in a visual cloak of melancholy that seeps into every scene. One of the film's most striking techniques is its use of tight, often claustrophobic framing. Early on, in the armored truck sequences, the camera stays close to the characters' faces and bodies, confining the viewer within the metal walls. This approach heightens the sense of danger and entrapment, making every creak of the truck and every sudden movement feel immediate and threatening. The confined framing creates an almost suffocating atmosphere, forcing the audience to experience the tension as if trapped alongside H and his colleagues. This intimacy also deepens the emotional impact, Watching the subtle shifts in expressions and the silent communication between characters becomes a study in suppressed emotion. Contrast this with the wider shots in the open streets, where the camera pulls back to reveal the harsh urban environment, full of danger lurking in shadows and unpredictable threats. These transitions between tight and expansive framing help balance the film's pacing and visual rhythm, allowing moments of breathlessness to alternate with strategic calm. It's a visual ebb and flow that keeps viewers engaged without overwhelming them. Editing by James Herbert plays a crucial role in shaping the film's suspense and narrative flow. The pacing is deliberately measured, especially in the first half, with slow, tense builds punctuated by sudden bursts of violence. The editing choices emphasize the calculated nature of H's mission. His movements are precise, almost mechanical, reflecting his controlled fury. Cross-cutting is used effectively during the robbery scenes and ensuing chases, weaving together multiple perspectives to heighten suspense. The cuts are often quick during action sequences, conveying chaos and urgency, then slow and deliberate during character moments, allowing the emotional weight to settle. Sound design is another essential pillar of the movie's immersive experience. The film employs a careful layering of ambient noises, the hum of the armored truck's engine, the sharp clicks of weapons being loaded, the distant city sounds, all contributing to a realistic, tactile environment. Silence is used just as powerfully. Moments of near silence punctuate scenes, magnifying the tension by making the viewer hyper-aware of every subtle sound. This technique is especially effective in confrontations where dialogue is sparse, and every breath or footstep carries meaning. The gunshots themselves are raw and visceral, not glamorized or exaggerated, but harsh and jarring. This realistic sound design grounds the action, reminding the audience of the real danger and stakes involved. When combined with the tight visuals, these sound choices create a sensory experience that draws viewers deep into the film's world. Music in Wrath of Man is subtle but deeply effective. Composed by Christopher Benstead, the score avoids overpowering orchestral swells common in action films. Instead, it uses minimalistic, sometimes almost haunting motifs that echo the film's themes of loss and vengeance. The music often creeps in quietly, underscoring emotional moments or building suspense without dominating the scene. This restraint allows the natural sounds and performances to remain front and center, enhancing rather than overshadowing the storytelling. One particularly memorable sequence uses music and sound to great effect during the flashback scenes revealing H's past. Here, the score shifts to a darker, more brooding tone, layered with ominous synths and low percussion. This change in sonic texture signals a departure from the present narrative, immersing viewers in a more dangerous, unstable world. The soundscape matches the visual style, grainier, shadow-filled, and heightens the feeling of menace and regret surrounding H's former life. Guy Ritchie's directorial vision also shines in his handling of action choreography. Rather than relying on fast-paced, over-edited fight scenes, the film opts for grounded, believable combat. The movements are deliberate and impactful, often showing the physical toll on characters. This choice aligns with the film's realistic tone and deepens the emotional stakes. Violence is costly and exhausting, not glamorous. Close-up shots of struggle and pain make the action visceral, while longer takes allow the intensity to simmer, giving weight to each confrontation. Visual storytelling extends to the use of symbolic imagery woven subtly throughout the film. Reflections in glass and mirrors frequently appear, hinting at dual identities and hidden motives. These visual motifs reinforce the theme of concealment and fractured selves. For example, shots where H's face is partially obscured by shadows or reflections underline his internal conflict and secret past. The use of shallow focus isolates characters against blurred backgrounds, emphasizing loneliness and detachment. Lighting design is another key element shaping the film's atmosphere. The interplay of light and shadow creates dramatic contrasts that echo the moral ambiguity of the story. Scenes are often lit from one side, casting half of a character's face in darkness, visually representing their divided nature. This chiaroscuro effect adds a noir-like quality to the film, enhancing its tension and emotional depth. Color grading also subtly shifts to signal changes in tone or time. The flashbacks have a colder, more desaturated look, while present-day scenes sometimes incorporate warmer tones during brief moments of connection or vulnerability. These shifts guide the audience's emotional journey without needing explicit explanation. One of the most innovative visual choices in the film is the way it uses slow motion and close-ups to capture key moments of realization or emotional impact. Rather than typical Hollywood slow motion, these shots are carefully timed to emphasize the weight of an action or expression. For instance, when H recognizes a crucial detail or makes a calculated move, the camera lingers just long enough to let viewers feel the significance, turning small gestures into powerful storytelling tools. The film's camera movement also deserves mention. It often employs subtle, steady tracking shots that follow characters quietly through the urban landscape, creating a sense of inevitability, as if the audience is trailing behind fate itself. In contrast, handheld camera work is used sparingly but effectively during moments of chaos or violence, injecting immediacy and instability. Throughout Wrath of Man, the integration of these cinematic techniques forms a cohesive sensory experience. Each element, color, light, sound, editing, works in harmony to deepen the narrative and emotional impact. The result is a film that feels alive and immersive, pulling the viewer inside a world of grief, vengeance, and moral complexity. In conclusion, the film's visual storytelling is not just about style but substance. Guy Ritchie's direction, combined with Ben Davis's cinematography, James Herbert's editing, and Christopher Benstead's sound design and score, crafts a cinematic language that conveys the character's inner turmoil and the story's dark themes without relying solely on dialogue or exposition. It's a sophisticated blend of craft and emotion, making Wrath of Man a compelling example of how cinema can tell stories on multiple sensory levels, inviting audiences to feel as much as see and hear the unfolding drama. From the very first moments on set, the chemistry between the cast of Wrath of Man played a pivotal role in shaping the film's intense and gripping atmosphere. Jason Statham, known for his stoic, tough guy roles, brought a restrained depth to the character of H that went beyond his usual action hero persona. His ability to convey profound grief and simmering rage beneath a calm exterior was amplified by his interactions with the rest of the ensemble, whose nuanced performances created a believable, often tense dynamic. The quiet moments of shared glances, subtle gestures, and wordless understanding between actors added layers of realism that elevated the storytelling beyond mere action sequences. The connection between Statham and Jeffrey Donovan, who played Jackson, was particularly compelling. On screen, their characters oscillate between mutual respect and simmering suspicion, a relationship fraught with unspoken histories and shifting loyalties. This tension was born out of a genuine rapport forged during rehearsals and long hours on set. Reports from behind the scenes reveal that Statham and Donovan spent considerable time discussing their characters' backstories, motivations, and unspoken conflicts, which translated into a believable and compelling on-screen relationship. Their chemistry allowed for moments that felt raw and unfiltered, drawing viewers deeper into the film's emotional core. The ensemble cast, including Holt McCallan and Josh Hartnett, contributed richly to the film's texture. McCallan's portrayal of Doug, a grizzled veteran of the armored truck team, brought a grounded, almost weary authenticity that balanced the younger character's energy. Hartnett's role as Jan, the calculated and ruthless leader of the robbers, required a delicate blend of menace and charisma. Hartnett's ability to oscillate between calm control and explosive anger added unpredictability, keeping audiences on edge. The cast's willingness to fully commit to their roles, embracing the gritty, sometimes brutal world of the story, was evident in the depth and nuance of their performances. Behind the scenes, the atmosphere on set was reportedly intense but collaborative. Guy Ritchie's directing style, known for its precision and high energy, created an environment where actors were encouraged to experiment within the boundaries of the script. Statham himself has noted in interviews that Ritchie fosters a trust that allows actors to explore their characters' emotional depths without fear of judgment. This trust was crucial in scenes requiring a delicate balance between action and emotional resonance, moments where a simple glance or silence spoke volumes. Anecdotes from the set reveal moments of genuine camaraderie and tension that mirror the film's narrative. For example, The tense robbery sequences involved complex choreography and tight timing, requiring the cast and crew to work seamlessly together. These high-pressure scenes forged bonds among the actors, who relied on each other's cues and timing to maintain realism and safety. Such cooperation behind the camera translated into authentic interactions on screen, where the stakes felt real and immediate. Moreover, the physical demands of the film fostered a unique sense of solidarity. Statham and his co-stars underwent rigorous training to perform many of their own stunts, heightening the authenticity of the action. These shared challenges deepened the sense of ensemble, as actors supported one another through grueling shoot days. This physical and emotional investment is palpable in the finished film, where the weariness and resilience of the characters feel lived in rather than acted. Audience reactions to Wrath of Man highlight how this blend of chemistry and authenticity resonated widely. Upon release, viewers praised the film for its gripping tension and nuanced performances, particularly applauding Statham's departure from his usual roles into something more emotionally complex. Social media buzz showed fans dissecting character motivations and praising the palpable tension between cast members. Forums and fan discussions often cite the chemistry between Statham and Donovan as a highlight, noting how it elevates the story beyond a typical revenge thriller. Critically, the film garnered mixed to positive reviews, with many commentators recognizing its stylistic strengths and emotional weight. While some noted the film's dark tone and intricate narrative could be challenging for casual viewers, most agreed the performances and character dynamics anchored the story effectively. Critics highlighted the way the cast's chemistry enriched the viewing experience, turning what could have been a straightforward action film into a textured exploration of grief, loyalty, and betrayal. Long-term fan engagement has continued to grow, with the film gaining a dedicated following for its blend of style and substance. Fans have praised the layered storytelling, often returning to key scenes to analyze the subtle exchanges between characters. The dynamic between H and Jackson, in particular, has sparked fan theories and discussions about loyalty and trust. Online communities have also shared behind-the-scenes insights, deepening appreciation for the actor's craft and on-set dynamics. Interestingly, the film's reception also sparked renewed interest in Guy Ritchie's evolving style, with fans noting how Wrath of Man blends his trademark kinetic energy with a darker, more introspective tone. This shift has been credited in part to the strong ensemble performances, which gave Ritchie the space to explore more subtle storytelling within his action framework. Overall, the synergy between the cast, the collaborative atmosphere on set, and the audience's enthusiastic response created a feedback loop that enriched Wrath of Man's legacy. The chemistry wasn't just about actors performing together. It was about crafting a believable world where emotions simmer beneath the surface, where trust and betrayal play out in the smallest interactions, and where every glance or silence holds meaning. This depth, born from real connections and shared experiences during filming, made the final product resonate strongly with audiences and critics alike. Wrath of Man stands as more than just another entry in the action thriller genre. It marks a distinct turning point that has rippled across filmmaking and popular culture in ways that continue to unfold. From its release, the film challenged expectations, not by reinventing the wheel, but by reshaping familiar elements with a fresh, darker, and more emotionally complex perspective. Its legacy is one of subtle yet profound influence, shifting how audiences and creators alike view the possibilities of genre storytelling. What makes Wrath of Man so impactful is its ability to blend visceral action with psychological depth. It broke through the often two-dimensional mold of revenge thrillers by offering a protagonist who is both an unstoppable force and a deeply wounded man. This duality inspired filmmakers to rethink character-driven narratives within high-stakes settings, encouraging stories where the internal battle is as gripping as the external conflict. Subsequent films in the genre have drawn on this blueprint, incorporating layered protagonists whose motivations and vulnerabilities drive the plot as much as the action sequences do. The movie's influence extends into filmmaking techniques as well. Guy Ritchie's deliberate pacing, combined with Ben Davis's atmospheric cinematography and the minimalist, tension-building score by Christopher Benstead, set a new tone for action films that favor mood and character over pure spectacle. This approach has encouraged other directors to explore more nuanced sound design and visual storytelling, proving that action movies don't need to rely solely on rapid-fire editing or bombastic effects to captivate audiences. Instead, they can create immersive experiences by paying attention to subtle details, lighting, framing, sound textures, that enrich the narrative emotionally. On the cultural front, Wrath of Man tapped into universal themes of grief, justice, and redemption, resonating with viewers across diverse backgrounds. Its portrayal of a father's relentless quest for vengeance in a cold, unforgiving world struck a chord in an era increasingly interested in morally complex heroes. The film's willingness to explore the darker sides of humanity, including the consequences of violence and betrayal, contributed to ongoing conversations about the ethics of revenge and the human cost of crime. This reflection elevated the movie beyond entertainment, making it a touchstone for discussions about justice and retribution in contemporary society. Though not a blockbuster in the traditional sense, Wrath of Man achieved notable milestones that underscore its growing legacy. It garnered critical acclaim for Jason Statham's performance, praised as one of his most nuanced roles, and received recognition for its tight screenplay and innovative direction. While it may not have swept major awards, the film's success at international box offices and positive reception from genre enthusiasts cemented its status as a sleeper hit, one that steadily gained respect and admiration over time. The film's impact on Statham's career also marks an important chapter in action cinema. Traditionally cast as the invincible, hard-edged hero, Statham's turn in Wrath of Man showed his range and depth, opening doors for more diverse and emotionally rich roles. This shift not only expanded his artistic repertoire but also challenged casting norms within the action genre, encouraging studios to take risks on casting against type and emphasizing character complexity. Fan culture surrounding Wrath of Man has played a significant role in its enduring significance. The movie sparked passionate discussions on forums and social media, where viewers dissected its layered narrative and character dynamics. This active engagement has kept the film alive in the public imagination, fostering a dedicated community that appreciates its craftsmanship and thematic richness. The emergence of fan theories and detailed scene analyses highlights the movie's capacity to invite repeat viewings and deeper reflection, a hallmark of culturally impactful cinema. Moreover, the film contributed to a broader resurgence of interest in crime thrillers with a psychological edge, inspiring creators across mediums, from literature to television, to explore similar themes of moral ambiguity and the fine line between justice and vengeance. Its influence can be seen in the darker, more introspective tones of recent crime dramas, which prioritize character psychology and narrative complexity over formulaic action. The legacy of Wrath of Man is also tied to its place within Guy Ritchie's evolving filmography. Known initially for his fast-paced, stylish British gangster films, Ritchie surprised many by steering his signature style toward a more serious and emotionally driven narrative. This pivot showcased his versatility and helped redefine his career, influencing how directors approach genre blending and character focus. It also demonstrated that established filmmakers could reinvent themselves by taking creative risks, inspiring others to follow suit. In reflection, the film remains significant because it marries craftsmanship with emotional honesty. It invites viewers to experience a brutal, unforgiving world not just through explosive set pieces, but through the quiet moments of loss, regret, and determination. Its cinematic language, rooted in careful visual storytelling, sound design, and performance, continues to resonate because it respects the audience's intelligence and emotional capacity. As time passes, Wrath of Man will likely be remembered not only for its thrilling plot, but for how it expanded the boundaries of its genre and deepened the conversation around themes of vengeance and justice. It stands as a testament to the power of blending style with substance, showing that even in a crowded field of action thrillers, a film can carve out a lasting cultural footprint by daring to be different, by peeling back the layers of its characters and revealing the raw human emotions beneath. In this way, Wrath of Man is more than a movie. It is a lasting influence, a cultural touchstone that continues to inspire filmmakers and captivate audiences, proving that powerful storytelling and thoughtful filmmaking can endure far beyond the closing credits. Wrath of Man is a film that refuses to be boxed in by genre expectations or simple storytelling formulas. From its very first scene, It pulls the audience into a tightly woven world where every shadow hides a secret, every glance speaks volumes, and every action carries emotional weight. What makes this movie truly stand out is the way it seamlessly blends intense, gripping action with deep, often painful character exploration. It's a rare gem in modern cinema, one that balances the raw, adrenaline-fueled thrills of a revenge thriller with the quiet, simmering complexity of a psychological drama. The film's power lies not only in its plot twists or explosive sequences, but in the nuanced performances that bring its characters to life. Jason Statham delivers a career-best portrayal, peeling back layers of toughness to reveal a man shattered by grief and driven by a relentless need for justice. Around him, the supporting cast enriches the narrative with tension, loyalty, and conflict, making the story feel lived in and immediate. This strong ensemble chemistry elevates the film, turning every interaction into a study of trust, betrayal, and survival. Visually, Wrath of Man is a masterclass in mood and atmosphere. The muted color palette, careful framing, and skillful lighting all work together to create a world that feels both real and haunting. A place where danger lurks just beneath the surface and every shadow threatens to explode into violence. The deliberate pacing and sharp editing allow the tension to build naturally, pulling viewers deeper into the story without overwhelming them. Complemented by an understated but evocative score and precise sound design, the film's sensory elements envelop the audience, making the viewing experience immersive and unforgettable. Beyond its craft, the movie resonates because of its themes. It's a meditation on grief and vengeance, on the blurry lines between justice and revenge. It asks difficult questions about what people are willing to sacrifice for closure, and whether the pursuit of retribution can ever truly heal a broken soul. These universal themes, presented through a tightly constructed narrative, give Wrath of Man a weight and relevance that linger long after the credits roll. The film's legacy is evident in how it has influenced the genre and its fans. It challenged the typical action movie mold by offering something more textured and emotionally rich. It inspired conversations about character complexity in thrillers and demonstrated that movies driven by mood and psychological depth can still deliver electrifying excitement. Its cultural impact is seen not only in the praise it earned, but in the way it has sparked deeper appreciation for layered storytelling in a genre often dismissed as purely entertainment. As we reflect on Wrath of Man, it becomes clear that this film is more than the sum of its parts. It is a testament to what happens when skilled filmmaking meets purposeful storytelling, a reminder that even in the fastest-paced, most brutal narratives, there is room for subtlety, humanity, and profound emotion. Its success lies in balancing these elements, offering an experience that satisfies both the mind and the heart. If you love this breakdown, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of cinema. Let's keep exploring movies together. There's so much more to uncover, so many stories waiting to be told, and countless cinematic worlds to explore. Thanks for joining me on this journey through Wrath of Man. Until next time, keep watching, keep questioning, and keep falling in love with movies.